this is Masters of Orion 2. This is a blast from the past, I gotta say, because ever since doing my Star Drive YouTube videos that I've been doing for probably about the past two and a half months now, almost 3 months I think, I have been constantly referencing and remembering this game there, and it just hit me to actually do a search for it there on Good Old Games, and I happened to conveniently find this game on there for like $5, so I just had to grab it and dive right in. What can I say? This is definitely a game I remember playing way back when I was in my younger years, because what, this was in 1998, so about almost 20 years, let's see, 17 years from now, so I was 12, 13 there, about, when this game came out. So yeah, I played this game a lot. I had a lot of fun with it. And it has a lot of similarities to Star Drive there for those who have been watching my YouTube videos. So you're going to see a lot of similarities here, because with Masters of Orion, it was what inspired Star Drive to begin with there, that series. So this is going to be fun for me, because what can I say? This will allow us to... Oh wait. Oh, I'm trying to start a new game there. I don't know why it's giving me this message here. Damn it. Oh, this is a good start, isn't it? So yeah, it's pretty basic to load there considering a game of its age. You can choose the difficulty, size of the galaxy. Pretty much the usual routine for most of the 4X type of games there, where you can customize the settings. This one's a little more primitive given its age. And of course you can even trigger random events. Tactical combat, which I think allows you to change between... Oh, so you can choose... Oh, I could turn this off and battles actually can cancel for me. Well, I certainly did my research there, because we're stumbling already trying to figure out all this stuff. I should have done this ahead of time. But nonetheless, all the usual routines there. I normally been playing my games so far on the pre-war phase, so that's basically where you don't even have a colony ship. You just do the usual starting tech there, and you get your way built up to your first hyperdrive ships and colonies. And with the homeworld, or at least, what, homeworld? Jesus Christ. I'm thinking of a different game altogether. That's going to be its own series, I think, at some point. But with Masters of Orion 2, we have a collection of, what is it, 10... Actually, 13 races here, each of all varying traits. Some of them are probably a little ridiculous, arguably. First we got the Akari, who have like base ship defense traits, so they're a little bit harder to hit and they get more durability. They have Artifact Homeworld, which means they get boosts to science on the homeworld only, and each of these races basically have like different types of governments, where in this case it's dictatorship, where it's basically ruled by a single reigning person there, or body, essentially. So there are penalties and traits to each of the different governments, the majority of which are dictatorship, since that, as far as how you adjust the racial traits, are pretty much point-based. So dictatorship, you don't get penalized for taking it, or it doesn't cost you anything, so it is pretty much on a neutral ground. So I'll get into more detail on that in a little bit. We have the Meklar, which are basically they're kind of half machine, half organic. They're really good at production. They're cybernetic, which means they don't rely as much on food there, but they're not truly machines in this case, as opposed to my Star Drive videos where we have the Operas, which are completely machines, and they pretty much can be, well, they can be fed through charging stations, like a specific building that allows them to be fed as opposed to actual food. Whereas the Meklar here, they'll go half food and half production there as far as sustaining your people. And they're also dictatorship. We got Burati, which are very similar to the Kurati on Star Drive there, because instead of bears we got like these cat-like feline creatures that are they got a more rigid forehead there. Not really so much fur, but they seem to have like a cat-like feature to them. If not, you want to think of them as a bear. I don't know what is the best comparison to them. But They have high gravity there. They pretty much exist on high gravity world. They have above average combat effectiveness of the ships, and they got strong ground troops. So of course, in our dictatorship, we got the Mershon, the cat creatures, rich homeworld. They got high ship ratings there. They got warlord trait, which basically means for each system you control, you're able to build more ships and not get penalized by maintenance as much, essentially. The more colonies you have, and then our dictator. We have the Darlocks, which are emphasized heavily on their ability for espionage and spying. As is apparent there, they get plus 20 rating to their spying, which is basically plus 20% boost, if I recall. And stealth ships there, Jesus. Stealth ships there allows them to remain completely hidden on the map until they are actually detected in the systems themselves. So, if you want to be that kind of bastard that keeps backstabbing people, you could just travel to a far-off system, just barely out of your reach, and they won't detect you at all until you're actually at the planet. So really good for backstabbing with your fleets or spying otherwise. We have the Cylons, not to be mistaken with the Cylons of Battlestar Galactica, but they are very smart. They got scientific research, increased boost, low gravity, so that's one of the penalties there. They are a little more fragile as a result. Large homeworld for a larger population. Another dictatorship, but they have creative, which allows them to grab every single tech on a certain tree when it's researched. Whereas normally when you're researching tech, you can only choose from one of 3 different techs. So that's a benefit there. So we got the Illyrians, which are pretty scary as well, kind of like the Darlocks. They got good ship ratings there overall. They're telepathic, which, if I remember correctly, allow them to mind control and automatically capture undefended enemy worlds. So they don't even have to fight to conquer a planet, they could just mind control them with the telepathic trait. Which I don't have to tell you how scary that is. It also gives them boost to their spying. And I don't know what the Omniscient trait is. I'm gonna have to check that quickly. We got the Sakra, which are basically the fast breeders. They got double the population growth. They get bonus food to help make up for it. Poor spies. They got subtrain, which means it increases their size of their population based on the planet that they're inhabiting. They got a large homeworld, and they're feudal, which is actually something I haven't mentioned as well. Which is basically, instead of one ruling body there, feudal means there are several factions that are still kind of in conflict with each other, but ultimately they will try to work together, but they suffer penalties as opposed to dictatorship. So they are like the only type of government that actually gives you negative value as far as the points go for your racial traits. So we got the No-Lambs. They get boost attacks. They're all about getting trade and income there. Kind of like ruling through wealth, essentially. We got low gravity world, expert traders, of course. You get the more races you can get trade trains with, the more value you get out of it. They're lucky, which is actually a unique trait in that they do not suffer any negative effect random occurrences. It is impossible for them to have like their worlds getting attacked by random alien incursions. They do not suffer from volcanic activity, earthquakes, or anything devastating. But they will still benefit from the positives, so that's always a plus for them, especially. And of course, they're in our dictatorship. We got the Silicanoids. I hope I pronounced that right. They're slow to grow. They're lithophores, which means they consume entirely rocks, if I believe, which means they rely entirely on production, I believe, like the rocks of the world. They're tolerant, which means they do not suffer penalties from having poor worlds that they inhabit, so they can pretty much thrive on any world, except for maybe toxic ones, which are like the lowest quality type of plants you can get. And in our dictatorship. And of course they're repulsive, which means you're going to have a hard time with diplomacy with other races, so you're generally going to be pretty hated. And humans here, they made them pretty generic and positive, I guess. they're charismatic, and they have a democracy, which is the highest quality type of government. So they get boosted science, a little bit secure. They do suffer a little bit of spying, I guess, due to open freedom from democracy. And they have the charismatic because they get additional benefits in diplomacy. So pretty straightforward and simple, but they are like the only ones I think that have democracy government. Next, we have the Trilarians, which are aquatic, the only aquatic, at least base race there. You can customize to make your own race. They're aquatic if you wish. They're trans-dimensional, which if I believe they can move fast, they have the capability of traveling faster and further in space. So they are high mobility type of race in that sense, and they're our dictator. And last but not least, which is the race I'm going to be using for my current campaign to show off, is the Clacons, which are an insect-like race. They got really good food production, really good industrial production. They got a large homeworld, and they have unification, which is also another unique government that they are the only ones that have, at least of the standard 13 races we have here. Which means they are completely unified. They do not suffer from morale, which is which is essentially happiness for your people and help, but they do not suffer from any of the plus of high morale either in that case. And they suffer from uncreative, which is, in this case, for research there, you are only get one choice for your researches, for research trees, as opposed to 3 that you have to choose from, which can be a bit limiting. And there's a custom trait, whereas you can make your own kind of race as you wish, and you can customize them to your liking, because if you don't want the simplicity of the humans being charismatic and having democracy, you can change that easily. It is a little bit of a spreadsheet there, because what you start off with is about 10 points. Let me turn it off and see what we have. We have about 10 points there to work with, and you can either use negatives there for get negative extra points by using negative traits like reduced production if you so wish, to get even more boosts to your positive traits. Like there's the tolerance here, which allows you to survive for pretty much almost any planet there and get max population from what it looks like. And tolerant races also ignore pollution. That's another benefit I didn't realize. So that is very costly, as you can see, 10 points, but it is very potent as a result. Then we have all the other traits here, and these are all basically connected type of traits. You cannot select multiples of them, obviously, because one is like population here minus population growth, and you get increased population growth with their own separate costs. So that's one of the cool benefits of Master of Orion, as well as a lot of the other kind of 4X's at this point even. You can just customize how you like. Some give you more customization than others, but you can choose it to your liking. As for a game of its time, 1998 if I remember. I think I said that earlier on this video. So I'm gonna load up my current game there, and we're gonna show you what the actual map looks like. So this is pretty much it. The map. This is the largest possible map you can get in the game there. Judging from the current games, the 4X's like Star Drive 2, Civilization, Galactic Civilization, this map feels pretty small there, but considering how far you're limited on travel there, because all the systems around the orange, which is my faction here, is almost as far as I can go. I pretty much colonize every single one of them, and I can only travel like about one system out from there. So these 2 white systems, these 3 here, I don't think I can reach this red star way down here, and a couple of these planets around here, and probably reach the black hole if I wanted to for some reason. But this is what I have built up. About maybe 100 turns in, 150 turns. They do go rather quickly, especially when you don't have a lot of little things to do like production and that. So how this works, it's pretty much old-fashioned styles, a little cumbersome at first to get used to, but when you click on it there, you can click on the system, and it'll open up the overlay of what you have there. In this case, I have 2 Terran worlds thanks to my terraforming tech that I have recently acquired. So it gives you the stat layouts of all the plants there, population, in this case all maxed out, and the any defenses it has available. You click on that and it takes you to your actual city there. So everything is pretty traditional as what you expect for a 4X game. Minus the convenience of having an enhanced UI there, so you kind of have to do a lot more quick clicking and swapping through pages here to get to what you're looking for. So in this case, this is where you would build everything: ships, freighters, colonies, and even your regular buildings of sorts to whatever suits you here. In this case, you can just click to put it on the list there. You can only queue up to 7 there, whereas you would have unlimited queues for current day kind of games. And you can just swap around as you wish. Pretty generic stuff here, nothing too fancy. You can swap the civilization around, all good. And up here would traditionally be where the morale would be. But in this case, since my Klakons are unified, they do not suffer penalties nor bonuses of morale. They are completely unified. As well as all the resources I'm getting from the planet. Top row, which is my 3 farmers here, is food, production in the middle, research on the bottom. Of course, like with Star Drive, for those who have been watching my stream on that there, you get your list of officers and heroes that you can hire to kind of boost the traits of your systems. In this case, for my homeworld, which we just at, we have Magistrate Cox, who is environmentalist, which reduces pollution by 30%, farming by 30s, and he gives in us a base boost of research there for my tech, and all that there. And this is for ship officers, which you can put onto a ship itself, and it gives them boosts for either the ship or the fleet that they are accompanying. So that's all the basics on that there. All my systems are basically about the same, aside from new developing worlds, which I'm slowly terraforming here. Because with the terraforming I got, everything is just about Terran, or working towards being Terran, because I got radiation shields to work for these radiant plants, which do have their penalties. I don't see, yes, there we go, it shows penalties as stats for all the worlds. In this case, since this is my own colony there, I get 6 production currently per worker, 3 science, and max population of 4, with a penalty to maintenance. But if I were to click on an uncolonized world, like this, yeah, this large Terran world I love to colonize, but is defended by like alien creatures, which conveniently is just a Hydra. If I were to click on that, considering this thing is like really valuable with the ultra rich world, it gives us stats for it base, I believe, since there's no bonuses to enhance it for. Wow. 5 research per scientist. Oh, that's because of the trait ancient artifacts that's on that. So it gives a boost to research, so that makes it incredibly valuable if I can get that. But that is the overlay here. We got all the tabs on the bottom. Every single one requires loading to a different page, so it is, like I say, a little bit cumbersome for a time, but is relatively convenient. A lot more simplistic, I guess, for the time. Because you have a complete list of everything on this page for your colonies, what their statuses are, and you can even move them around. Even move them to another planet if you have the freighters or transportation methods available to do it. And you have access to just switch right through or even straight up buy ships with these coins. Like these blue coins have already been paid for because I just paid for them before starting up this video. So I could click on that, it takes me to the city there and just takes me right back. So nice, convenient. Seems relatively well designed there for a game of its time. So it is rather convenient. It does require a lot of loading to a different page, so that's the one downside for it. And these are all the different I actually haven't looked at this page, so what is this? Oh, these are all the different planets that are not populated just yet. And of course I can change the settings there, or the presets. Yeah, planets that are in range. I can have set to have no presence. and kind of filter out to whatever I'm looking for, essentially, of what I explored. But it doesn't look like it shows anything that I have colonized. And then we have the fleet itself, which of course is relatively small because most of it's in transit right now here. Which, there we are. I have one battle cruiser here. I have a destroyer and two frigates. If you're really keen-eyed, you'll notice that I named all my ships to what they were in my Star Drive campaign. Because I got the Horn here, we got Soldier and two consorts. So if you were viewing my stream or YouTube, there's a nice little Easter egg for you. And let's see, we got the leaders, I just actually showed that, and of course the diplomacy tab. Or in this case, I did set this for all the races to be included, or at least 8 races, so we're still missing 3 more that I haven't gotten in contact with. This is where you show all your statuses with the factions there, your spies as well, and the bonuses you get for them. Agents for defense, spying for trying to spy on the other races, in this case. And you got the option to have them to hide, which means they don't do anything, they just idle there while you build up. Espionage for stealing spies, or why am I saying stealing spies? For stealing tech and just gain intel on their worlds. And sabotage is pretty straightforward, you destroy productions, ships, and anything of opportunity. It is pretty randomized what you destroy, unfortunately. So, if I were to go to war with the Bolrazi, I cannot have them to sabotage while they're here, which would probably be the first planet I would strike. Oh, that's not even theirs, is it? They're white, so in that case, if I want to go with the Silconoids, that couldn't bomb specifically that planet. And then info, I guess this is just a help tab. It gives you the basics of income and other statistics there, like the racial traits. Let's see, tech review keeps track of everything for you. Oh, and there's also a graph. In this case, population-wise, I am way up there, mainly because I was the only race that have terraforming for a good long while, so I get to benefit from the massive population boost, as well as from all the plants that I currently have. So I have the most buildings there. I have a bit subpar fleet, and as you can see, they've really been building up theirs relatively quickly, so I gotta be careful with that. And tech, surprisingly, despite the fact that I'm uncreative, I do have high tech value, so that's pretty much good. I'm on par with the Cylons, essentially. So, the reason I saved the video here is because I got a Cylon fleet heading into one of my systems, so I'm expecting a lot of hostilities, especially with all these transport ships. So if I'm lucky, they're going to declare war on me, and I'll be able to show you the specifics on the battle itself, which is a little bit turn-based. I do not want to declare war, but I am expecting to go to war. Come on. We are forced to attack the Klekon Empire and attempt to secure more food. At least they have a justifiable reason, but alas, we're gonna have to defend ourselves. So even though I had good relations with the Cylons, they are gonna fight me for this planet. Wow. So, that was a bit of a rough start there. But this is basically the combat menu here. It is a little bit awkward because of how high speed the mouse scroll is trying to adjust, because this was designed for a much lower resolution. Everything's stretched out thanks to the DOS box. But this is a technical window. When you get in combat, everything is turn-based. So you control the units individually one at a time. You get a movement rating, and that allows you to kind of move in and attack as you will. In this case, I'm already off to a really bad start. I do have a battleship though, so I do have a chance. So let's see what they're armed with. A lot of neutron blasters and bombs. So that's pretty straightforward. More blasters, and it has laser cannons for more closer range. Lots of neutron guns. And there's the big threat, which is a battleship. 100 health, 100 structure, and has 20 points of shields to absorb. which do regenerate every turn, at least a portion of it every turn, so that's going to be hard to kill, and they are relatively accurate. So let's show you the works, and hopefully I can win this in the process, which would be pretty nice. Otherwise, this campaign will go really badly for me after a bit. But you move the ships one at a time there. In the case of the missiles, if you move the ship, it will start moving closer to you. I don't know if that's based on its movement value, or if it's a bonus move that it gets that kind of punishes you for moving the ship that's being targeted. So I do want to be careful of getting too close to these missiles, because I want these corvettes or frigates to shoot them down for me. There, nice. We got one missile down, let's see if we can take the other one. So you just target there. It is randomly number generated whether it can hit or not, due to turn-based statistics. So, based on your computer, the higher quality your computer, the more accurate it is, as well as other traits that are available to it. And we managed to deal with those missiles, so that is a plus. But I have no firepower left to really deal with these ships. We only punched through a little bit of its armor, and they got a lot more punch left. But I do have a battle station to back me up, and with its heavy armaments, I do have a chance of defending this successfully. Not only did it do a massive amount of damage, it actually immobilized it, which is perfect. I would love to show off the potential, now that it's mobilized, if I can get close enough, I can actually board the ships there and essentially capture them. It would be dependent on like the number of the ships itself, the stats, based on the amount of infantry you have on board, the tech that the actual infantry have to utilize, which is relatively similar to what the ground troops bonus are. So if I have like laser rifles or fusion rifles, they are going to be equipped with that. But that's just generic like stat boost. Like fusion rifles would give 15% more like bonus or something to like the laser rifles. So traditionally you would have like other resources available. Like I can have some of these ships equipped with troop pods, which double or triple the amount of troops that they have access to, which makes them more potent at capturing ships. And of course, capturing ships idle for obvious reasons, because it means that you can use the ship against them. And that did not go the way I would have liked, because my ships all exploded on me, which is kind of what's probably killed me here. My own explosions are what's getting me killed, but otherwise I still have the battle station. I managed to take out 2 of these threats, so there's still a chance. I just gotta deal with the battleship primarily. And that ship's almost gone. I don't have any missiles on it, but we can try and take out this battleship. And do I have any point defense? I do. Actually, if I understand point defense right, they will fire at the last possible second before the missiles hit, so I'll leave it there to increase the accuracy. So yes, the point defense are working as they should, thankfully. Oh my god, and we actually survived. The battle station managed to hold up. So despite my fleet being like paper, considering they did not have shield tech and upgrade weaponry, they did manage to succeed. So that's always a plus. And this is the research window. Or in the case of my ground batteries, I just researched it, so that was completed. But this is the research page, which you can click on it to look at it any time, and when your research finishes, you get presented with a new opportunity. Do keep in mind though, my clacons are uncreative, so maybe that's a downside for showing off this game properly. But traditionally you would have 3 different techs available for you here as opposed to 1. Because I'm uncreative, I am forced to choose these type of techs there. I do have the choice of picking them when I want to start researching them, but otherwise I'm limited on what kind of tech I want to get. So, pretty generic type of research tree. You do got a lot of different branches though, which gives you a lot of variety and different routes to take. But ultimately, in the end, you're gonna have access to all the tech you wish, except for maybe well, like I said, the two that you don't choose. If you have the creative trait, you'll eventually get access to all of them, but if you want to get all the other tech that you haven't chosen, you are going to have to trade for it or steal it. So it encourages interacting with the other races in some extent. So you will have your own unique way of playing as a result. In my case, of the Klakons, I am kind of forced to play a certain playstyle based on what tech I have. So I cannot go all missile based if I wish, because I won't have always access to the missile research trees, or lasers, or fighters, or even like the troop based routes, lots of infantry upgrades. So I can't even rely on that for like boarding a lot of ships using a tractor beam to kind of hold them in place and then just boarding ships essentially. So this is a little bit more limited. So I'm just gonna quickly go get some stuff built. And gravity generator, artificial gravity, which I think I recently acquired that. Negates like the penalties of heavy gravity stuff, whether you're low gravity or high gravity. So let me show off the one final thing that I enjoy about Masters of Orion most of all, is that when you go to your ships there, you can get preset ships which automatically get the highest capable tech and roll assigned to them, or you could just build your own, essentially. You got 6 different classes of ships there. I was mainly, for that battle, I had destroyers, frigates, and a single cruiser here, where it was fighting battleships, which is a tier higher, and a cruiser and 2 destroyers, I think. You can get up to really ludicrous type of size ships, which I guess this would technically be a mobile Death Star, I believe. Or at least a much more mobile Death Star at that. Don't think it can destroy planets in this game, but it is a fun thought to think about, isn't it? You can even change the look of your ship to an extent. So it helps if you were to have multiple different types of like a Titan class ship, for example, like this one would be all close range lasers. You could change your one, make it all so that you have easy way to distinguish between them. So that's a nice little thing I like. And of course you get to change the looks of them as well. All the customization values is at your disposal. But like, this is basically the create your own ship window there. Based on the tech you have unlocked, you can choose access to them. They all have their costs. Like the computers don't. You can choose whatever computer you want of the highest quality. You won't be penalized for it, except for the additional cost to it. Shields, which I lack. Defenses, which are automatically applied based on what kind of armor stat you have there. Like in this case, I have no missile evasion because I never research ECM or anything like that. But I have lots of beam defense because of. I think I have. No, I don't have anything at all. I think that's related to titanium armor in that case. And of course engines, which I could upgrade to fusion if I had access to that. So down here is the special systems where you get your troops, and I guess I actually do have ECM jammers, just not, since I don't have it selected, I don't get value for it. Which, as you can see, that gives me missile evasion. There's the troop pods, which increases the marines for boarding. And of course defense security stations to increase defense, and all these other traits. All unlocked as you research them. And there's a lot of different options available to you, like the battle pods. Very expensive, but they just increase the size, the amount that you can carry by 50% straight up. So you can have ridiculous type of ships at some point with those battle pods. Like imagine a Doomstar with the space it has being the top tier type of ship, and then just add a battle pod to it to get even more space. Just be ridiculous. And then you can customize to your liking here. Like every single weapon has its own little special quirks you can put on it. Like point defense, it'll reduce the cost, reduce damage, but it has special benefits as being point defense. It will automatically fire at missiles before they hit, guaranteed if they aren't used if you don't use them to try and shoot at ships or anything else beforehand in that turn. You got continuous for extra accuracy chance, auto fire for like get more shots in, additional damage. No range dissipation, which means you don't lose damage if you're trying to shoot from long distance. Heavy mounts, which is kind of the opposite of point defense. Bigger cans, further range, more punch, but a lot less reliable, and I don't think that you can even use them to shoot at missiles at all. And armor piercing, which can bypass armor, except for Citronium, which it says here. So this has been the main thing I love most about Masters of Orion, is just creating your own ships there, your own style fleet, and having to take full advantage of your traits as well as your tech that you've been researching up to this point. So, thank you for riding through this blast in the past, remembering the fond games there of our youth. Maybe not the best view here, but hey, this is like my second episode, I got my excuses. But thank you for tuning in, I enjoyed this game. And I think I'm going to continue on with this campaign when I get the time. It has been fun so far.